Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at the World Magic Cup. That's Ian Duke. I am Marshall Sutcliffe, and one more semifinal to go, Ian, before we get to our finals. We know that Thailand's in. The question now, is it going to be Austria or Italy who faces them down? We're going to find out right now. And welcome to coverage of the World Magic Cup. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ian Duke, and we're ready for our second semifinal match. We have Austria versus Italy. Let's meet the teams.
Christoph Aukenthaler,
Mackl Valentin,
Nikolaus Eigner, Sebastian Fiorda-Ibitz.
Team Austria!
Andrea Mengucci,
William Pizzi,
Marco Camilluzzi,
Francesco Bifero.
Team Italy!
I love those video shots. It gives you a little idea for some of the players' personality as they're a little more stoic at the table. So what we've got here is our second semifinal match. Team Thailand is already into the finals, and these two teams are going to fight it out for the right to play them for the World Magic Cup Champion Trophy. Now, on our main table, which is going to be, in this case, Table A, the one we're starting with, we have Valentin Mackl. Now, Valentin from Austria is playing Bant Megamorph. He's got 6 Grand Prix top 8s on his resume, so if you watch Magic coverage, he will not be an unfamiliar face. On the other side of the table, also not an unfamiliar face, that is Andrea Mengucci. He is playing Esper Dragons. How do you see this matchup, Ian?
It's really close. Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit at the news desk earlier today. Typically, the Bant Megamorph deck being a base green-white creature deck, you'd think classically that would not match up well against a blue-black based control deck. However, with the addition of cards like Den Protector and Death Misraptor, it can really give the Bant Megamorph deck leverage into a long game, and oftentimes these games play out 8, 10, 12 plus turns, and the Megamorph deck actually comes out on top. So this could be anybody's game at any stage of the game. We could see Bant Megamorph run away with it early, or we could see things grind out, in which case, either deck can win from there.
Okay, well, Andrea Mengucci started things off here with a Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and he's also got a Duress. On the other side of the table, Valentin Mackl has got a Hangerback Walker on 1, and he's being forced to reveal his hand here. It looks like Valorous Stance is the card taken by Mengucci. You can take a look at the rest of the hand there. Oh, couldn't see it anymore, but I did see a Den Protector in there and a Nissa Vastwood Seer. There's also a Wingmate Rock. Silk Wrap off the top, though, for Mackl.
Nice response to Jace. That's huge.
Yeah, he is going to need to play a land first to make sure he doesn't get Silumgar scorned here, but otherwise, right on time, too. And Mengucci is going to have to just kind of roll his eyes like, yeah, that happens. He, of course, is going to loot in response.
Yeah, he could pick up a dragon off the loot is one option.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Or one possibility, I should say, but does not.
I think it was a Languish in this case.
Okay. Very nice card to have against a creature deck. Can sweep away Hangerback Walker tokens after the fact.
Now, we've got 2 other tables of action going here, of course, as well. William Pizzi's on Teamer Megamorph on table B playing against Sebastian Fiorda-Ibitz. He is playing Mardu midrange. And on our last table, we've got Nikolaus Eigner. He is playing Esper Dragons up against Marco Camilluzzi, who's on Atarka Red. Good old Esper Dragons versus Atarka Red. In the meantime, Valentin Mackl ticks up his Hangerback Walker.
Let's take a look at Mackl's hand if we can here. Looks like a Den Protector, Death Misraptor, Nissa, Vastwood Seer, Wingmate Rock. Nissa picking up another Forest.
Yeah, Nissa resolving here.
Notably only 1 white source, so probably no Wingmate Rock next turn. But all in all, a nice hand for Valentin Mackl that'll Definitely tied him through into the mid-game. A little bit of recursion, some powerful threats. And we'll see what Andrea Mengucci can come up with in response. Mengucci, on the other hand, sitting on just a pair of unpowered Silumgar Scorns and a Languish, so nothing great for him just yet.
Holy smokes.
Oh.
How about a Tarka Red winning on turn 4 for Marco Camiluzzi versus Nicholas Eigner over there on table C? I just got around to mentioning that they were there and Marco Camiluzzi won his game. Not shocking, though. It is a Tarka Red versus Esper. Game 1. Also of note here, coming into the semifinals, Italy, 2nd seed, Austria, 3rd. Now that has strategic implications these days as the higher seed gets to choose who goes 1st or 2nd on the first game, and that applies to all 3 players for that team.
Yeah, a massive advantage to be sure. So interesting play from Valentin Mackl here. I do believe he set his Deathmiss Raptor face down. Mengucci, I think, knows of both the Den Protector and the Deathmiss Raptor, and so by setting the Deathmiss Raptor face down here rather than the Den Protector, Valentin Mackl is actually kind of bluffing a little bit in an interesting way.
Now, he's got Dromica's command in his hand. Nothing much to do with it, right? Yeah, he's just going to let his creatures get swept away. Though we will note that the Hangerback Walker is going to produce some friends here.
That's 3 tokens from the Hangerback Walker, and it was the Deathmiss Raptor that was the face-down morph there. So that's going to be able to come back when the Den Protector turns face up.
Yeah, that's a nice play there for Mackl. Kind of forced the hand of Mengucci anyway, though. He needed to clean up that board. He couldn't take a couple of hits from that board without dying.
Right. I'm sure Mengucci, considered that possibility. It's not like he totally took him by surprise and was forced to languish there either way, but still a nice play from Valentin Mackl. And you can see how this Bant Megamorph deck, when played carefully, can definitely hang into a longer game against a control deck. So here's Flooded Strand, getting a 2nd white source that could enable a Wingmate Rock here, or just a face-down Den Protector that could then turn face up and bring back Deathmiss Raptor. So a lot of great options for Valentin Mackl here, and he's looking firmly ahead at this point in the game.
Yeah, gone are the days when the green-white deck couldn't fight against a control deck. That is just simply not the case anymore. There's a lot of card advantage to be had from Valentin Mackl's side of the table. He can easily go toe-to-toe with what Mengucci's doing. And you can see here the massive board state that Valentin Mackl has amassed here. Wingmate Rock, Friend, and 3 Thopters. Gain 5 life. Take 9? Goodness sakes. Mengucci's going to have to come up with something pretty quickly here. He's down to 3.
Yep.
He doesn't find it.
That's it.
That's going to be game 1 going to Valentin Mackl. That was a quick one. So 2 quick games, one on either side. One goes to Austria, the other one goes to Italy. We'll be back right after these messages.
Take the oath and retake the world in the newest Magic the Gathering set, Oath of the Gatewatch. Play in pre-release events at your local game store on January 16th and 17th, and on Magic Online starting January 29th. Visit locator.wizards.com to find a store near you. Friday Night Magic is your local Magic hangout. Find the format right for you among Standard, Modern, Draft, Commander, Legacy, and many more. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information.
All right, so 2 quick games have finished so far in our feature match area. One of them that we were watching, one of them that we weren't, but they were split between the 2 teams. So the picture not clear here yet as far as who is going to take that 2nd finalist slot. Let's jump in on table B, where we have Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz on the left-hand side of the table playing Mardu mid-range against William Pizzi on Teamer.
And it looks like we have a Lizard Outburst has been cast here, making 3 bounding Crassuses.
Fish lizard outburst has been called.
Yeah, you don't know about that card, Marshall? It's
You may have spoiled one here.
oh
from,
yeah, it's one of the
from
new Oath of the Gatewatch cards. We're just
Well,
previewing it here.
William Pizzi had his hands on it, and this is going to be tough to overcome. The tempo that you get from Abounding Krasis, on top of the fact that it builds out your board with a pretty big creature, can really set Sebastian far behind. Now, the thing about the Mardu mid-range deck is that it does do well at dealing with large individual threats. You know, he could do something like Crackling Doom here, block, and take out 2 of them.
Yeah, it looks like, in fact, there is a couple of Crackling Dooms there in Sebastian's hand.
All right.
Question is, will he have time to deploy them? So one gets attempted here. Looks like it does
works.
resolve.
Of course, the prowess trigger and a block. This board state could get shored up very nicely for Sebastian, and it does.
Wow.
He takes no damage that turn.
We came in at the right time. That was a pivotal turn in this game.
Yeah, we sure did. So Fish Lizard's down. There's only one left.
Second main phase, Rattleclaw Mystic face up.
I see a pair of Pia and Kira Nalar in hand for Sebastian.
So interesting to note that face-up Rattleclaw Mystic definitely represents something, because
Well, represents lethal for starters.
for starters, yeah, but importantly, leaving up 2 mana rather than 3. I mean, a face-down Rattleclaw Mystic still has 2 power and then has the option to be turned face-up. So Sebastian has to be assuming that there's exactly a 2 mana play in William Pizzi's hand. And taking a peek here, it does look like he has a copy of Disdainful Stroke. So we'll see if Sebastian has the heads up to play around that.
Yeah, and here's
And
William
he does
Pizzi
get hit by it.
getting it off, and this could be the game.
Yeah.
Right, I don't think Sebastian has any other way to deal with the threats on the board in his hand. I think his hand is another P and Kira Nalar and another Crackling Doom.
I wonder if that was a potential misstep playing into the Disdainful Stroke there. That could have been a Crackling Doom instead of the Pia and Kieran, which wouldn't have been countered by Disdainful Stroke and would have prevented lethal there.
Yeah, absolutely possible.
However,
Although it is interesting, let's see, 2 negate in the main deck for William Pizzi as
oh,
well.
I see. Okay, so he may have been thinking about negate. Oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense, because negate would hit Crackling Doom, whereas Disdainful Stroke would hit Pia and Kieran Nalar. So that's kind of a wash there. So Sebastian probably thinking about, well, one of these 2 spells I can't play around. What's the best case scenario for me? And that's resolving Pia and Kieran Nalar. So that play does make a lot of sense there. But looks like regardless, here comes Savage Knuckleblade with haste for William Pizzi, and that's going to be enough to take the game.
All right, so William Pizzi won to the good in his match over Sebastian Fiala Ibiza, and that's going to be a fun one to watch. Kind of 2 good mid-range decks, 3-color mid-range decks, just bashing it out. They both have a different take on how they get the win, but it should be fun to watch that one play out for sure. Now down on table C, which is the one we're going to down on the end there, we've got Nicholas Eigner with Esper Dragons playing against Marco Camiluzzi on Atarka Red. Again, Marco Camiluzzi up a game already in the match. We were barely into the early stages on table A when Marco Camiluzzi, I guess it was a turn 4 kill. You can also see Francesco Befero as the coach, and Christoph Aukenthaler as well on the other side. So
We have everything ready. For your sideboard, for my sideboard, everything ready.
at least they're being friendly.
I'm not sure that. I don't think that you board the mentor. Huh? I don't think that you board in the mentor.
Really, no? Why I didn't hit here then?
Yes.
Looks like players joking around with each other a little bit as they
And we are waiting also
get
for
to
Santa
presenting
Claus,
their
right?
decks.
You believe in Santa Claus?
I'm Santa Claus. I'm the Nicholas. No? No, really? My name is Nicholas. It's Santa Claus.
Oh, so I'm a good guy. Please, I want a good end.
Well, at least the banter's lighthearted.
Yeah, it's great to see, even though we're here in the semifinals of the World Magic Cup, these two teams are still having a great time, still joking around, enjoying playing Magic against one another.
Eigner trying to convince Marco Camiluzzi that he's in fact Santa Claus, given that they both have the same first name. I don't think Marco's buying it. Oh, Marco actually said he's been a good boy this year, and he should get lots of gifts for the holidays. So
yeah,
I guess
like
he
perhaps,
does believe in it.
perhaps a win in the semifinals.
Hey, you know, he's already got a game win here, so he's going to need a few more gifts to go his way if he's going to pick up this match. But if he does, he'll put his team in a good position to advance to the finals. All right, so here we go. Post-boarded game now, Atarka Red versus Esper Dragons, Ian. I'm assuming that Esper Dragons spikes up in win percentage post-board.
Okay. Strike?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. Looks like a solid hand there for our Esper Dragons player. Just trying to take a look at our options there in the opening hand, and it does look like Marco Camiluzzi is sending his back.
In the meantime, Eigner has kept his hand and patiently awaits. And just so you know, viewers at home as well, everybody's shuffling right now down in the feature match here. Ian, let's take a look at what Eigner's doing as far as sideboard goes.
Sure, so the most obvious thing is he's got 4 copies of Irashan Cleric in his sideboard. Those will definitely come in. In fact, they're here specifically for this matchup. Beyond that, Dispel is a card I think that you want to bring in here just to kind of defend against instant speed bump spells or burn spells, Surge of Righteousness for sure, and probably the Virulent Plague as well.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid, and I'm sure there's some cards in his main deck that he can't wait to get out of there. Let's take a look at what Camiluzzi has for the board. His main deck was set up pretty nicely there in game 1. Does he actually get to improve post-board?
Well, let's see here.
It's another Hordling Outburst.
Yeah, Hordling Outburst wants to come in. Rending Volley it does answer Ojutai, although I don't think you want to be that reactive here.
Right, because it only answers Ojutai if Ojutai is attacking you.
Right, and by that point, I mean, it's sort of, you don't want to play for that game state, right? You just want to end the game before you start getting beat down by giant dragons. Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh is a possibility here. I don't think it's really at its best in this matchup because the Esper Dragons deck is going to have a lot of removal post sideboard. So it may just be a matter of bringing in the Hordling Outburst. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Marshall, that the Atarka Red deck is so favored in game 1 that it really doesn't need to change its strategy very much post sideboard.
Okay. It looks like we're underway back in the feature, so we'll jump back down there and see how this one plays out. Can Niklas Eigner even things up for Austria? Or is it going to be Camiluzzi finishing the job for Italy and putting them up a match here in the semis? Monastery Swift Spear, good start for Camiluzzi. And Eigner's going to pass the turn back. So far, Eigner's taken a few hits here. 2 hits off the Swift Spear, plus a fetch line has him at 17 life. And still hasn't actually cast a spell yet. There's Camiluzzi playing a Dragon Fodder. Are we going to see a Foul Tongue Invocation here in response?
Yeah, I think so, just to make sure that it hits its mark on taking out that Monastery Swift Spear.
He's also got a Dragonlord Ojutai in hand to reveal to get that critical 4 life gain hit. That can be really good.
Definitely. So an interesting thing here, Marshall, is we do see 2 copies of Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh in Camiluzzi's hand. I wasn't sure looking at the sideboard whether he would bring them in this matchup or not. It looks like he has opted to do so. Probably specifically because Aigner has 4 copies of Foul Tongue Invocation as some of his removal spells. Cameluzzi might figure that it's pretty easy to protect Chandra just by having some extra Goblin tokens around to sacrifice, and that if Chandra can transform, it's really, really hard for Aigner to get off the battlefield. It's almost like a alternate win condition in itself, just being able to transform Chandra.
Yeah, you've marked that throughout the course of the weekend, that whenever we've seen Chandra and she gets transformed, it is an explosive amount of damage for that one turn, and it's recursive as well.
Yeah, she's fragile for sure, and that's why we haven't seen her show up as much in Standard lately. She's often kind of 1 or 2 of or a sideboard card, but she is very, very, very powerful when she does transform. And for that reason, I was actually a little bit worried about that card internally. I think we got it to a nice power level there, but it's the kind of card where if it's a little bit stronger than you think, it can be very, very scary from a game design perspective. But definitely happy with how that card ended up, and it's one of my favorite cards in Standard right now.
I like the artwork too, especially when it's transformed there. She looks mad. And there it is. Erishan Cleric from the sideboard is going to bolster Nicholas Aigner's life total even further.
And here's a critical 3rd land for Marco Cameluzzi, just when he needs it here. Potentially, we will see Chandra Fire of Kaladesh come on down here. Aigner with 2 mana up, potentially representing a Silumgar's Scorn or something of the like. So we'll see if Cameluzzi decides to play around that or just go for it. And with 2 copies of Chandra in his hand, I think he'll happily go for it and not feel too bad if it gets countered or removed here. We'll see what Aigner can come up with.
Cameluzzi's keeping an eye on what his teammates are up to as well. They do ask him a lot of questions as they play. Looking to Marco for advice.
So Aigner with a little bit of an awkward hand here. He has Foul Tongue Invocation, but a Goblin token will simply eat that up. He does have Dragonlord Ojutai, which I imagine he'll go for this turn, and then only a Dig Through Time otherwise, so no immediate answer to Chandra other than threatening her with Dragonlord Ojutai attack, but that's not exactly a comfortable situation for the Esper Dragons deck, although this is still a fairly close game.
It's not bad, right? Like having a 5-power flyer to be able to attack Chandra were she to flip over, and also just a good blocker against her as well.
Right. I think given that he has the Erishan Cleric here to hold down the ground, he's okay in this position. If he didn't have that, he'd be really, really nervous here. But Cameluzzi also with a powerful hand. He's got a 2nd Chandra, sort of irrelevant right now, but Atarka's Command, Dragon Fodder, and Become Immense. And this 4th land means he will be able to cast 2 red spells in this turn, and that's enough to flip Chandra. So we'll see what Cameluzzi goes with here. Unfortunately for him, in order to flip Chandra, he would have to sort of burn the Atarka's Command, so we might not see him do that just yet. He might just ping with Chandra, play the Dragon Fodder, make some more creatures, and pass the turn, leaving up Atarka's Command, potentially to stop life gain from something like a Foul Tongue Invocation or another Erishan Cleric, and then next turn probably go for a big attack with a bunch of Goblins and Atarka's Command. But no, it looks like he is getting in with all 3 of his creatures here, and that signals that he's probably planning on casting the Atarka's Command this turn.
All right. Nicholas Aigner still at 21 life. Not under a ton of pressure thus far, as he's been able to gain life in the form of... he's actually gained 7 life this turn already, or this game already.
Wow. So the other card in Cameluzzi's hand is Become Immense, and with 4 lands in play, 3 cards in graveyard, he could Atarka's Command and Become Immense both in this combat. So Eigner is going to have to be very careful about how he blocks here, and depending on how he blocks, Cameluzzi is going to have some nice flexible options with those 2 combat tricks, potentially taking out Dragonlord Ojutai and dealing a healthy amount of damage to Nicholas Eigner.
So Eigner, at this point, his big question is, am I blocking with Dragonlord Ojutai, right?
Yes.
That's the question that he needs answered. And am I okay if Dragonlord Ojutai gets gobbled up by a big pump spell?
And I think the answer is yes. I mean, certainly you're anticipating a Tarka's Command, in which case blocking with Dragonlord Ojutai is great. And if you're thinking about Become Immense, I mean, do you really want to play around Become Immense in the sense that you'll just get hit for 6 in the face? I think it might be better just to sink a lot of damage into the Dragonlord Ojutai. Although it's quite a complicated situation because of the Chandra as well. If you don't block Chandra with Dragonlord Ojutai, she will flip this turn. You could chump Chandra with the Erishan Cleric, but as we know, Cameluzzi has both the Atarka's Command and the Dragon Fodder, so Chandra will still flip post-combat. So really, really tough situation for Eigner here, especially not having the information we have about what's in Marco Cameluzzi's hand. So he does go for a block on Chandra with Dragonlord Ojutai. And this block makes a lot of sense to me. You're anticipating the Atarka's Command, and beyond that, saying if Cameluzzi wants to sink something like a Titan's Strength or a Become Immense into the Dragonlord Ojutai, well, that's great. You've just prevented a lot of damage to yourself. Now, the other possibility Eigner can consider here is if Cameluzzi has 2 instant speed red spells, he could actually, this could be sort of a bluff attack in the sense that he's just planning to flip Chandra in combat. Actually, I'm sorry, he would need 3 red spells to do that anyway. But it is a possibility, just Chandra sort of feinting an attack here and then flipping in combat.
Yeah, it's tough to set up, but it is certainly possible. Cameluzzi, after seeing the way that Eigner blocks, has now taken a pretty long pause to figure out what he wants to do.
Yeah, this is a really tough turn from both players' perspective.
Right.
Okay, so I take 3.
Okay, well, he kicked things off with the command here. And now he's going to Become Immense on Chandra as well. So he does decide to just sort of suck it up here, get rid of Dragonlord Ojutai, and get Chandra transformed.
Why not flipping? Only red spells, sorry.
If Chandra,
Oh, did he not wait until damage went?
So they're actually...
So the way this works is that Chandra has to have dealt, well, 2 damage basically before you activate her for the last time. Okay, it looks like it worked out. So he activates Chandra, and now he gets to flip her, he gets to transform her over here. It's a little bit of a tricky spot there because she has to, you tap her, you can see on the right hand side of your screen, she deals 1 damage to a player. Then if she's done 3 damage or more this turn, then you exile her and you get to do all that, but that's all part of the same ability. So what needs to have happened here is Chandra needs to have done damage after becoming pumped. It doesn't matter how the damage gets done, but what does matter is that that activated ability happens. That's how she gets transformed. So he needs to wait until damage happens and then ping. He actually, I think, pinged before, possibly.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by the sequence of what's going on and which player
Same.
thinks what's going... Yeah.
And guess what? This is what judges are for. So they've called a judge to get things sorted out and to make sure that it works the way that Marco says it.
Can you double check, please? Sure.
Need to be after activation, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what my mark is trying to imply.
It's part of it. That's part of the touches. You know that.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for this to get resolved, I can tell you that Andrea Mengucci has equaled things up with Valentin Mackl on table A. Esper Dragons wins game 2 against Bant Megamorph, so now they're equalized at a game apiece. Two of the stronger players on either team duking it out there on table A, and they're going to go to a game 3. All right, so we've got our head judge, that's Ricardo Tessitore, or one of our head judges, I should say, and he is now going to walk through each step here.
Yeah.
Then you pump it again, so that the dragon dies. And
Also of note here, Ricardo's Italian, so he can talk to Marco
Yeah.
in Italian, and they can make sure that there's no
Okay.
discrepancy.
Yes.
Chandra has not dealt any damage yet, so it would not transform.
So Marshall, do we have a handle on the facts of what was actually cast on what this turn? I think we had the Atarka's command, and then the Become Immense was that
On Chandra.
on Chandra herself. Okay.
Yeah, but and I actually did see it right that first time. Yeah, that's tough. So the deal is that when you activate Chandra, it checks to see, have I dealt 3 damage this turn? If so, I'm going to transform. At the time when Marco activated Chandra to ping, she was 8/8 or 9/9, but hadn't done damage yet.
Oh, okay. So what Marco meant to, or should have done, was cast Atarka's command, untap Chandra, cast Become Immense, let combat damage resolve.
Correct.
Then afterwards, ping with Chandra, then she would transform into a Planeswalker.
Yes, and instead he did it before damage.
Okay, so just a little bit of a sequencing error there. Unfortunately, potentially a pretty costly sequencing error.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it was a minute detail, which is easy to miss, but it could cost him, as now Chandra is stuck in her human shaman form, at least for the time being. Here's Dragon Fodder now for Marco Camiluzzi. Now, the good news for Marco is that Chandra can't get attacked by Ojutai here.
So here's really interesting play coming up here, actually, Marshall. So Chandra went ping, Dragon Fodder, untap, ping a second time. Now what we're going to see from Marco is casting another Chandra. In response, she untaps and pings again. So she'll transform
Look at this.
before the second creature Chandra resolves. So in the end, Marco will end up with a Planeswalker Chandra the Roaring Flame and a creature of Chandra Fire of Kaladesh. So not only will he have this Planeswalker and be able to tick her up for another 2 damage, but he's going to have a backup Chandra waiting in the wings just in case Dragonlord Ojutai takes out the first one.
Nice makeup call, Marco.
Yeah.
Little sequencing error there, but he had this one in the books, and sure enough, it works.
You know, Marshall, there's no such thing as a mistake in Magic. Just a happy accident.
Oh, sentences I did not think I would hear from Ian Duke this weekend. That is definitely on the list. I love it. Okay, so Marco Camiluzzi now has presented Chandra the Roaring Flame. He plussed Chandra to do 2 damage to Eigner, dropping him down to 10. Ooh, and Eigner finds a nice one off the top, another Erishan Cleric.
Yeah, so a lot of life gain potentially coming here from Eigner. He's got Erishan Cleric for 3, Foul Tongue Invocation for another 4 life. That's 7 life. Could bring himself back up to 17. But he also has Dig Through Time, so we'll probably see a combination of a little bit of life gain and a little bit of digging this turn.
Dig
Starts
through
off with the dig.
While he goes through this, how compelled is he to attack Chandra with the Dragonlord Ojutai here?
It's going to depend a lot what he sees off the Dig Through Time. I think he will almost certainly attack the Chandra with Dragonlord Ojutai. Dragonlord Ojutai staying back on defense represents blocking a couple points of damage. Taking out Chandra the Roaring Flame also represents stopping a couple damage. So I think he'll probably just use the opportunity to go ahead and do that before she ticks up to 6.
And he could also attack Marco if there's a specific card he has in mind.
Yeah, I don't think he's that desperate right now. I think he'd rather since he has some life gain in his hand in the form of Foul Tongue Invocation and Erishan Cleric, he'd rather just take out Chandra, probably play the Cleric, leave up Negate. That leaves him in a pretty safe spot.
Yeah, we also see a Shambling Vent down there in his pile of lands that he could threaten to activate at any time. So here comes Dragonlord Ojutai to take down Chandra. The Roaring Flame, I should say. Fire of Kaladesh still on the battlefield. And like you planned it out here, Ian, I think we're going to see that Erishan Cleric with Negate available. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Camaluzzi, no cards in hand. Negate ready to stop any non-creature threat. And a couple of Erishan Clerics to hold off the ground. Things are starting to look up for Nicholas Eigner.
Yeah, they certainly are. Remember, Camaluzzi is the one who's up a game in this match. None of our matches here in the second semifinal have concluded thus far.
Looks like that was a red card.
Yeah, I think it was the Dragon Fodder. Oh, this is interesting. So now Eigner has to decide whether he wants to use Negate to keep Dragon Fodder off the table, or if he wants to use Ultimate Price to kill Chandra right now.
Oh, I see. It was Ultimate Price rather than Foul Tongue Invocation that he had in his hand.
And so he decided to use the Ultimate Price to make sure that while the untapped trigger was on the stack, he takes even less damage from Chandra.
Oh, it looks like he does actually have the Foul Tongue Invocation. So the Ultimate Price, I guess, came from the Dig Through Time, leaving him with Negate and Foul Tongue Invocation in his hand.
Jeez, he just has it all.
He does.
Hey, there's another Foul Tongue Invocation as well. And,
okay.
You know, normally you wouldn't be too happy about those against a board full of goblins, but when you've got the two Erishan Clerics and when they're gaining you 4 life each, he's pretty happy. Ooh, there's a Crux of Fate in that mess. But with Negate in hand, even a card like Atarka's Command is just not that scary. Yeah, it does really look like Eigner's turned the corner here at a virtual 20 life. He's gained a lot of life over the course of this game. Now he can just pass. He's got that Shambling Vent as well, so Camaluzzi really just doesn't have any attack at all here. He could lose 3 of his goblins and get in for a single point of damage. Certainly not worth it, so he's just going to pass a turn back to Eigner, who just does nothing. Doesn't feel any particular pressure here.
Yep.
Looks like Dispel, Duress.
Yeah, he is just building up his insurance network here.
I think option of a 3rd Cleric there too, but yeah, Dispel looking even better here.
3 Foul Tongue Invocations in hand for Eigner, according to our cards in hand graphic as well. Goodness sakes.
Yeah, Nicholas's deck really hitting its stride here.
No kidding.
Do you know, Marshall, what they call it when Austria's Esper Dragons deck performs really well?
Yeah.
What's that, Ian?
An Eigner function.
What about it?
No, not a math joke kind of a
No,
guy,
I
Marshall.
didn't
Marshall's giving me a stare here. Sorry for that one.
In the meantime, Nicholas Eigner does, in fact, pick up game number 2, which would mean that both tables A and C are tied at 1 game apiece. William Pizzi, remember, took down game 1 against Sebastian Fiala Ibitz, where we're going to rejoin that match in action here. Once again, Austria versus Italy here in the second semifinal. They're fighting for their chance to stay alive and play in the finals against Thailand. And neither team has won a match thus far. So we are still very much in the thick of it. It is completely undecided whether Austria or Italy is going to make it through.
Looks like
you're getting A pluses. I just feel like responsible to tell you that.
Looks like Mastery of the Unseen here for our Mardu player, as well as Soulfire Grandmaster. So definitely looking to have the upper hand here in this particular game. So when we last tuned into this match, the teamer deck was looking really, really impressive. Bunch of bounding Crassuses, Savage Knuckleblade rumbling in. This game not looking the same here.
No, it looks like Sebastian has taken firmly the control route here, and he's going to use Mastery of the Unseen to start taking over this game.
And still a powerful hand there, sitting on a copy of Pia and Kieran Nallar.
Ooh.
This is an interesting one.
Surak, hello, friend.
Yeah, not a card we've seen a lot of in Standard, but pretty powerful card. I mean, a 6/6 flash for 5.
Yeah, he's not worried about it getting countered here. That's Surak Dragonclaw there.
Yeah, this, of course, the Khan version of Surak.
I think Sebastian actually wanted to get a little reading on that just to make sure he knew exactly what it does. This is not a card that's seen a whole lot of play in Constructed, though it does pop up occasionally out of the sideboards. And here in Team Unified, you know, sometimes you need to dig around for those last few great sideboard slots, and Surak Dragonclaw doing the job here.
Yeah, this is a card in R&D we talked about positioning the teamer deck to be sort of the creature deck that's anti-control.
Yeah, talk to us about that third line of text. It's kind of weird.
Creature spells you control can't be countered, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so it's just basically saying, I can't be countered, and anybody on my team can't be countered.
Right, so the basic idea is with the teamer deck, you can maybe present an early threat, then leave up your mana for blue counter magic, and end of turn, play Surak Dragonclaw, which can't be countered. Then you can untap and play your Savage Knuckleblades, your Rattleclaw Mystics, whatever other creatures you have access to in your deck, and just be sure that the blue deck isn't going to be able to counter them. Now, his opponent's deck, not a blue deck in this case, but still a big, beefy flash creature, always welcome here. And it is rumbling in for 6 damage. Surak Dragonclaw gives your other creatures trample, but does not have trample itself, so it can be chump blocked if need be here from Sebastian, perhaps by a Manifest. Or maybe even triple blocked, we'll see.
It is an interesting choice. Sebastian's at 10. Oh, looks like William is saying, before you go to blocks, are we going to see a Teamer Charm here?
Oh, that could be very interesting.
We are not. Triple block.
Okay, this is rather dangerous.
Now, can he activate one of those Lumbering Falls and then Teamer Charm? No, he's just going to say, yeah, sure. All that mana, good creature, all of it go away from my Surak Dragonclaw. So, yeah, no problem for William Pizzi there. He's fine with that outcome. For Sebastian Fiala Ibitz, he knows that he can just keep grinding away with the Mastery of the Unseen there. You can see that Pizzi's just on Negate and Forest in hand here, which is kind of interesting. He certainly gave us something to think about by pausing Sebastian before blocks, and I'm sure Sebastian's thinking along those same lines.
Yeah, I wonder if that was an example of using his teammate to help him bluff in a way, where sort of after that triple block, he sort of paused and discussed with his teammate a little bit. Even though he didn't actually have anything relevant to do there, it could definitely make the opposing team think that he's considering maybe playing a removal spell or some sort of other trick there. But yeah, it looks like all he had was Forest and Negate at that point anyway.
So he's got 3 cards in his hand.
Oh, okay.
Haven't got a chance to see that last one quite
Yeah,
yet.
sometimes it takes a bit to get the hands updated when we just switch matches like that. So we'll get you guys that information as soon as we can.
In the meantime, Abbot of Carol Keep as well as a manifest makes up the board state now for Sebastian. Shambling Vent, go. See both of these decks taking full advantage of these creature lands as dual lands, helping to sort of mend the bridge that was not getting quite as many fetches as their counterparts.
So it looks like Pizzi, with the negate and forest we knew about, had picked up a copy of Radiant Flame since then, and just added a Deathmiss Raptor. And Marshall, I did note one interesting thing. When Sebastian passed the turn, at the end of the turn, Pizzi grabbed 4 of his lands and made it look like he was going to tap them, turned to his teammate and asked him a question, perhaps representing Collected Company that he doesn't have there. So just seeing interesting kind of bluffing type maneuvers involving the teammates here from the Italian team.
It is interesting. And once again, you see Pizzi leaning over his shoulder to ask Marco Camilluzzi for some advice. Camilluzzi says, yeah, go for it. And there's a Deathmiss Raptor for Pizzi. So Pizzi's been able to put out some decent threats here. But it's just so tough to get through this Mastery of the Unseen, as Sebastian just carefully, consciously moves things forward turn by turn here.
Yeah, it seems like the Teamer deck has a really, really hard time with Mastery of the Unseen. I'll take a look at the sideboard here. I can't think of too many cards that can actually directly answer it and take it off the board. So I think the best card for the Italian team here, Marshall, is actually what you mentioned before, Teamer Charm, which can stop creatures with power 3 or less from blocking this turn. And that, you know, we're not there yet, but over the course of a couple turns, that's a play path that could set up a lethal attack for the Teamer deck. Unfortunately, William Pizzi sitting on mostly reactive cards here and staring down Master of the Unseen is not really a place where he wants to be.
Yeah, Pizzi's got 2 copies of Teamer Charm. The other modes, of course, are target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it fights target creature you don't control. And its third ability is what we would call Mana Leak. It makes your opponent play 3 colorless mana more, else their spell gets countered. And are we going to see double Master of the Unseen here? Yeah, it certainly feels like Sebastian, with his unchecked Master of the Unseen, since we've come onto the match, has now built his mana base up to 8 and can now make 2 manifests per turn. And that should put it away here, as William Pizzi, even if he can wipe the board, the life gain from Sebastian is going to mean that Pizzi doesn't get to just close out this game in a turn or 2.
Yeah, and it looks like a couple of the manifests that are on the battlefield here can be turned face up at instant speed. There's Abbot of Carol Keep and Pia and Kieran Alar. So they don't actually become much more impressive creatures when they're turned face up, but they will trigger that ability on Master of the Unseen to gain 1 life for each creature that Sebastian does control. And that's going to put this game out of reach for William Pizzi pretty quickly.
Pizzi's up a game here, so if he were to lose this game, we would get a game 3. And that would mean we have a hat trick, 3 game 3s to be played for that last seat.
So Pizzi does have a copy of Radiant Flames in his hand. He could cast that for 2, wiping out everything but the Deathmiss Raptor. But Sebastian will just refill two manifest creatures, tokens, not tokens, but creatures, basically at the end of whatever turn Pizzi decides to pull the trigger on Radiant Flames.
He's pretty much got to do it pretty quickly here. He's just going to die.
Yeah, this might be that turn, so it's a stopgap measure, not really going to be anything impressive here, but it will buy him a little bit more time at least. But William Pizzi is still so far away from putting together any kind of meaningful offense against this Master of the Unseen.
So I suppose that he's Radiant Flamesing for 2 here. That would let him keep his Deathmiss Raptor around and likely kill most or all of the creatures on Sebastian's side.
Yeah, we might see Sebastian turn up maybe 1 of his 2 creatures that he could here.
Yeah, I get that big hit of life gain.
Yeah.
You know what? Tim Willoughby is keeping an eye on the matches for us, and he says that this isn't the only Master of the Unseen. It looks like they've split them up amongst the decks because Valentin Mackl also has one.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in the board state over there, though. Andrea Mengucci's actually got 2 different Dragon Lords in play. Yeah, they split them 2 apiece. You think they had an argument over them?
No, I think they probably just thought 2 was the right number to have in your sideboard. It's not a card you want to draw too many copies of. Often just played in 1 or 2 copies in sideboards.
And it looks like Sebastian Fialibitz decided just to let his creatures die here and make 2 more manifests and just get right back on that train immediately.
Yeah, it makes sense. His life total's not super pressured right now. The teamer deck, I mean, if it doesn't have creatures on the battlefield, it can't really do that much damage in a hurry. There is, of course, possibility of animating a Lumbering Falls with like a teamer charm, so potential for maybe 6 damage to come through at any given time. Maybe add an Abounding Crassus at the end of the turn, something like that. So there are lines of play where Sebastian has to be a little bit careful about taking 6 or 9 damage out of nowhere. But at 11 life, I think he can kind of just start rebuilding his manifest situation.
All right, Pizzi looks like he's finally going to line up an attack with that Death Mist Raptor here. In the meantime, Sebastian has filled up his hand with a lot of great spells. He just doesn't need them.
Finally, in comes that Death Mist Raptor.
Yeah.
Let's see what it's up to here.
The grind continues.
Oh, interesting. Looks like Pizzi's picked up a couple relevant cards in the meantime. Serac Dragonclaw, 2nd copy, could come down at the end of the turn. Teamer Charm, again, the most relevant mode here being creatures with power 3 or less can't block this turn, and a Negate to back it all up. So we might see something like Death Mist Raptor chipping in for 3 damage here with following at the end of Sebastian's turn, a Serac Dragonclaw flashing in, untap, maybe activate Lumbering Falls, cast Teamer Charm, and getting through for a bunch of damage. I think that's William Pizzi's most realistic way to actually win this game here. So the question is, will Sebastian slip up and leave that window of opportunity?
Not thus far. He chump blocked.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty carefully.
Yeah, he clearly is valuing his life total at 11, and he doesn't want it to go any lower than that. He also knows that he's got the machine running now.
Yeah, it can be a tough situation, though, when you have something like a Master of the Unseen in play, which gives you a tremendous amount of card advantage over time, but at a relatively low return on your mana investment. There are certain ways games can play out where you're sitting there getting value, but not really closing the game out as quickly as possible. And in that time, you're giving your opponent the time he or she needs to just assemble a really, really nice hand full of just the right threats and answers to get past your value machine.
Yeah, Sebastian, after that chump block, used a Wild Slash to finish off the Death Mist Raptor, and he also made 2 more manifests. They just keep coming. Now he's drawn his card and passed the turn back to William Pizzi, who plays Serac Dragonclaw on the end step.
So Sebastian does have a copy of Crackling Doom in his hand. We might see him fire it off here. This is perfect to meet William Pizzi's Negate, if he does do it. And this is the kind of thing where, like, you know, the window opens just a crack, Marshall, where Sebastian has tied up a little bit of his mana. He's played into the Negate. Serac Dragonclaw sticks. There's a Teamer Charm there. A Manland could be activated.
He's actually got 2 Lumbering Falls back there, though. That takes a lot of mana.
Is this Kolagon's command, maybe it looks like?
It did look like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he wants to get back his Soulfire Grandmaster, so here's negate. But that might just prompt Crackling Doom, and it does. Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz drawing this out beautifully.
It's a strange Kolagon's command there. I wonder what modes he was going for. Probably a
Probably
return a
discard.
creature and cause a discard.
Yeah, that's what I would guess.
Yeah. And that would explain why Pizzi countered it then, because he needs the Temur Charm in his hand. So otherwise, he'd just have to discard the negate. So he might as well counter the Kolagon's command, and that baits out an opportunity to cast the Crackling Doom on the Surak. So a really nice sequence there by Team Austria. And we said that window was opening a crack. It looks like Austria just slammed it right back down.
Yeah, it certainly does. That's Nicholas Eigner there. He's playing on table C. But since he's being held, we're going to go ahead and let him come in and help out Sebastian in case he needs a word of advice. All right, well, here is Sarkhan Dragon Speaker. And he's just going to get in there. So Sarkhan becomes a 4/4 here. Threatens to take a big chunk of William Pizzi's life total out. Sebastian has played this game very carefully, but it looks like he has entered the phase where he's ready to start clearing up and finishing off the deal here. Sebastian hasn't wanted to attack on the ground because every turn there's been Lumbering Falls available to just gobble up these manifests. All right, we do have our first match result in here, Ian. Andrea Mengucci defeats Valentin Mackl. He had just the counterspell he needed at just the right time. So Italy is one of the good, as we see Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz pick up this game and force a game 3 versus William Pizzi. Well, we're certainly getting our money's worth out of this last match before the finals, aren't we?
For sure, yeah. This has been just a spectacular match so far.
Yeah.
Two awesome teams. Two of the front runners in this competition for sure, but unfortunately, only one can advance to the finals.
So far, it's looking good for Italy as they're the ones who are up a match, and they have a game win in both of the other matches. So all they need to do is win a game of Magic over these next two, and they're in.
Okay, you guys are good stuff. Thank you.
Now, on the other side of the table, of course, they've also got game wins on the other side, but they don't have that match win locked up.
That's right.
So they got to win both.
So that was our Bant Megamorph versus Esper Dragons match that concluded in favor of the Esper deck. Is that right?
That's right. And now we're going to see Esper from the other team from Austria play against a Tarka Red in the hands of Marco Camiluzzi. Marco, it's on his shoulders right now if he's going to put his team Italy into the finals. If he loses this, then it will all be up to William Pizzi and Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz to decide who goes. So let's see what kind of start the Atarka Red deck gets in the hands of Marco Camiluzzi against Esper Dragons post-sideboard. Not a great one. Not a terrible one either. Abbot of Carol Keep on turn 2 signifies that he didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
And you really do want to grind out that card advantage when you can, but you need a threat. And here's Foul Tongue Invocation times 3 ultimate price and a dig through time. Is that the perfect hand?
I mean,
guess he could use a land.
A dragon for the Foul Tongues would be great here.
Ah, fair.
So I think what Camiluzzi was hoping to sculpt here is playing the Abbot on turn 2 means that his Chandra Fire of Kaladesh in his hand would hopefully stick on turn 3 through a Foul Tongue Invocation, or even an Ultimate Price. I think in most scenarios, Eigner would use Ultimate Price on the Abbot here if he has it, and if he doesn't have that, then at least the Abbot remains in play to bait out Foul Tongue Invocation.
Well, this is a big draw step here then, because Nicholas needs to find a land if he's going to fire off these invocations, and instead he finds a Duress. Sorry,
there's a polluted delta. Yeah,
sorry.
so this is going to be just what he needs here to take out this Chandra.
And he's just going to get that job done immediately. You mentioned it, though. No dragon means no life gain here, but he'll just be happy to take care of this problem.
Definitely. And Marco Camilluzzi with no creature in hand, just a Mountain Rending Volley, Titan Strength, and Teamer Battle Rage. So he needs to find a creature, but the problem is Eigner has 2 more removal spells in hand. So the ideal thing for Marco Camilluzzi here is to find a Hordling Outburst or even a Dragon Fodder.
Yeah, absolutely. Dash creature's not terrible here either, as he gets to kind of get in for damage and then get him back to the hand, but they don't present the kind of clock or board presence that he really needs. Zergo Bellstriker in hand for Camilluzzi.
Yeah, we'll see what he does with this.
3-drop.
Looks like he opts to dash it. That'll protect it from sorcery speed removal spell, ensure that he gets in the 2 damage plus 3 from Titan Strength here, which lets him scry. So interesting choices there. There were a couple choices. Zergo could either dash or not dash that turn, and then there's option to play Titan Strength or not play Titan Strength. The reason not to play Titan Strength this turn would be to pair it with Teamer Battle Rage the following turn. But it looks like he does just want to get in that damage while he can.
Now, he did find a Become Immense, and it's sitting safely on top of his library here. Safe from this Duress, even.
That is true, but with the choice of Rending Volley or Teamer Battle Rage, I have to imagine Eigner goes for the Teamer Battle Rage here, just to shut off possibility for shenanigans like a Become Immense off the top. He does know Camilluzzi scryed to the top.
Yeah.
And Rending Volley really only useful against Dragonlord Ojitai, which Eigner hasn't found yet. And so I have to imagine he'll just grab that. Oh, he does go for the Rending Volley. This could be huge, Marshall. This could be huge.
I think he's just going to leave up Foul Tongue Invocation here.
He better.
Forever.
Otherwise, he's in super big trouble.
He's down to 13 life. Zergo Bellstriker dash. Sure. No blocks, but does not take damage. Kind of feigns for the for the life pad there, but that doesn't work. Marco Camilluzzi's like, yeah, you can take 2. No, I'll take 0, says Nicholas Eigner, and leaves Camilluzzi creatureless.
Okay, this is shaping up to be a really interesting game here. So
Jeez,
Eigner looking to be in very, very good shape, but Camilluzzi has Teamer Battle Rage and Become Immense in hand. Eigner only knows about the Teamer Battle Rage.
That's right.
So if there's a moment where shields are down and Camilluzzi can pull a hasty creature like a Monastery Swift Spear, or maybe even another Zergo if he finds another land, there could be the possibility for just a combination out of nowhere. However, we've seen Eigner be pretty cautious in the previous games. And I think you said, Marshall, he picked up another copy of Foul Tongue Invocation there.
That was his draw step.
Out a lot.
Yeah, and now he's resolving Dig Through Time. Maybe he can even find himself a Dragon Lord to help get some life from the Foul Tongues. We'll see what he finds with it.
Yeah, one notable thing here is that Eigner is short on land, which means the probability of him actually tapping out and leaving shields down for a turn is much, much higher when he's not hitting his land drops.
Which he kind of is here. I mean, he does have a blocker up.
Here comes Zergo.
Oh, it's Zergo, but he didn't have the extra mana yet.
Yeah, if he had even one more land there, that would have been 13 points of trample potentially. So Camilluzzi not ready to end the game just yet, but let's see what he picks up.
And it's the old good news, bad news from Marco's perspective.
Second copy of Zergo.
Yeah, because Nicholas Eigner just drew his card and then did not play a land and pass, which means he's just got all spells in hand. And you know how his deck looks post-board here. It's all removal spells all the time.
Yeah, there's Ultimate Price fired off here. Looks like 2 more copies of Foul Tongue Invocation in hand.
Yes.
And a Virulent Plague, which shuts off one of Marco Cameluzzi's other avenues to victory here, which would be token spells protecting himself from Foul Tongue Invocation.
Aigner doesn't have to do anything at the moment.
But it looks like he uses the window to resolve Dragonlord Ojitai.
Yeah.
Remember that Aigner knows about the Teamer Battle Rage in Cameluzzi's hand, so...
Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Zergo Bellstriker is going to attack, only get blocked.
So Become Immense plus Teamer Battle Rage would be an 8-power double strike trampler. And he goes for it here wisely, just takes advantage of the shields being down.
To get in and get him down to 3.
Yeah, so that's 16 total damage. 13 of it tramples over. I think puts Nicholas down to 2.
2, excuse me.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Wow, that was a huge sequence there for Cameluzzi.
And Zergo survives.
Especially given that Aigner has 2 removal spells in his hand here.
Yeah, I played last one. No.
And Zergo was dashed that
so it's
turn.
going to come back
Pretty
to his
sure.
hand.
Yep.
And no cards left in hand for Cameluzzi.
Yeah. 2.
Wow.
But Cameluzzi can find an Atarka's Command, a Wild Slash if those are still in the deck, and finish this thing off.
Yeah, Aigner in the meantime has 2 copies of Foul Tongue Invocation, which can gain 4 life, even though, regardless of whether Cameluzzi has any creatures on the battlefield or not. The life gain isn't contingent on a creature actually being sacrificed. And Aigner does have the Dragonlord Ojitai to key off of.
Does he end up deciding to fire one of those off just indiscriminately here? Never mind. He's got a Dispel in his hand now.
Yeah, so I think he can safely pass the turn, try to Foul Tongue the dashed Zergo, and if there isn't a Tarka's Command in response, he can Dispel it. But we'll see what Cameluzzi picks up. Foul Tongue. Wild Slash
he
in
did
response,
drop a
but Dispel!
Wild Slash, but
Oh my
Dispel's
goodness.
good enough. Wow, Cameluzzi had it. That Dispel was huge for Aigner.
Oh, wow. Cameluzzi.
Oh,
that's
so
got to
close.
be devastating. Wow, that Dispel. Wow. I can't even get over that sequence of events there. So that Dispel came off of the Anticipate trigger from Dragonlord Ojitai just in time to stop the top deck Wild Slash from Marco Cameluzzi. Cameluzzi set that up beautifully, baiting the Foul Tongue with the Wild Slash in response, but Dispel to stop it.
Oh, and now Aigner's up to 6 life and can go up to 10 life at instant speed. What a back-breaking play. And here's Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and Marco gives up. He can't do it anymore. He extends the hand.
Incredible game.
And it's hard to blame him. Nicholas Aigner wins his match 2-1.
So that evens the score, doesn't it, Marshall?
It was always going to be this, Ian. There was never. These two teams are way too closely matched for anything other than what we have right here, which is Sebastian Fiala Ibitz with Mardu midrange versus William Pizzi on Teamer Megamorph for it all. And I'm not talking about a match. I'm talking about a game. Single game of Magic. Who wants to play Thailand in the finals? Is it going to be Austria? Is it going to be Italy?
I got to tell you, Marshall, there's been no shortage of exciting moments here in this top 8 of the World Magic Cup. I feel like, I mean, I haven't been keeping track, but it seems like almost every single round is coming down to like one game of one match to decide the whole round.
Yeah, I need a deep breath here. We're not even in the finals yet.
Yeah, there's still more to come. So our final matchup here.
Yeah, let's take a look at the decks that we're going to look at here for the final one now. This is the Teamer Megamorph deck for Italy in the hands of William Pizzi. And on the other side of the table, Sebastian Fiala Ibitz from Austria is playing Mardu midrange. We saw after the sideboarded games that Sebastian completely dominated the game with Master of the Unseen in Game 2.
Yeah, that game we peeked in on earlier looked pretty one-sided. It looks like the Mardu deck had stabilized with Mastery of the Unseen. But here we're starting a fresh game, and this could be anyone's game to win. I'm really excited about this matchup in part because Mardu is not, it's not unheard of, certainly, but it's not the most common deck in Standard. Shows up here and there in various different versions. Temur Megamorph, on the other hand, is sort of a brand new deck of this tournament. Of course, people have been playing and experimenting with Temur decks all throughout Standard through the past year and a half or 2 years. But really in this tournament, this is kind of the debut of this exact version of Temur Megamorph, and it's capable of some pretty cool and powerful plays with flash creatures like Bounding Crassus, Surak Dragonclaw, Collected Company to find things at instant speed. So there's really no telling what's going to come out of this third and final game of this match here.
Yeah, Collected Company is super impressive in this list, given that it's instant speed, along with the Bounding Crassus and a few other spells that the deck can play, and it can put, what, 7 power on the battlefield, maybe even 8?
That's right. Yeah, Collected Company into a pair of Savage Knuckleblades.
Savage indeed.
Yeah, just that.
All right, now this is interesting here. Sebastian with a slow mana draw. There have been concessions given to the mana bases, actually for both of these decks. And this is part of the thing that you face, is that you're going to play a few more Tri-lands, a few more Pain lands to make your mana work. These decks let, for the most part, the other decks get the fetch lands, and they kind of took the brunt of the mana bases. But Sebastian with 2 Tri-lands here, Nomad Outposts, both of them means that he's going to have all of his mana, at least all of his colors.
Yeah, Pizzi definitely with the better end of the early mana draw here, though. Rattleclaw Mystic on turn 2 on the play. His opponent with a couple of tapped lands in a row, and importantly, no Fiery Impulse or Wild Slash on the Rattleclaw Mystic, which almost assuredly would be cast if Sebastian had it. So William Pizzi can conclude there is no 1-mana removal spell in Sebastian's hand. That's going to give him a little bit of information here. And he goes ahead and uses that to play a face-down morph, which I believe is a second Rattleclaw Mystic. So not a terribly explosive draw for William Pizzi, but still a nice start.
Swamp off the top for Fiala Ibitz here. And he's going to go for Kolagon's command to destroy your morph and make you discard a card. Prairie Stream hits the bin and you were right. It was another Rattleclaw Mystic. So I think Pizzi can live with that. Not necessarily the worst case scenario there is he's forced to ditch a land and get rid of a creature that wasn't going to win him the game anyway. So once again, Rattleclaw Mystic pokes in for a couple of damage. Land, go, Bounding Crassus in hand for Pizzi.
So Pizzi, despite a nice start, hasn't really mustered that much of an offense here. There is a Bounding Crassus that can come down at the end of the turn, but Sebastian Fiala Ibitz has a pretty powerful hand. He's got Abaddon Carol Keep, Pia and Kieran Nalar, and a Mastery of the Unseen, which is the card that was absolutely backbreaking in the previous game, basically won him the previous game by itself.
Kolagon's command is the exiled card from Abbott, so it's going to stay there. Oh, here's Master of the Unseen. Follow-up, though. Does that resolve?
Unfortunately for William Pizzi, I think it does.
We know he has Negate in his deck. Yeah, it does resolve, so now it's a tempo game. And that was a cute little play. Did you see that, Ian?
Yeah, Bounding Crassus came down, untapped Rattleclaw Mystic. The Crassus can only untap creatures, not lands, but in this case, William Pizzi's creature is a mana source, so he uses that to cast Fiery Impulse on the Abbott. Yeah, and now he can get in for 5 damage. Let's see if he can pull any more offense off the top. Something like a Savage Knuckleblade would be great here.
Oh, yes. That would be 9 damage hitting Sebastian Fiala Ibitz this turn if he had the Knuckleblade. And that is the type of thing that William Pizzi is going to need here, because now all of a sudden, the longer this game goes, the more advantage that Sebastian can get off of that Mastery of the Unseen. And William Pizzi really needs to turn it into a tempo game where he's the aggressor.
I definitely agree, Marshall. And it is no Savage Knuckleblade, but it's maybe the next best thing. Here is a Den Protector for William Pizzi. And speaking of long-term advantage, that's just what he needs to hang into this game here and not get shut down by that Master of the Unseen.
Yeah, Den Protector, once turned face up, can happily just march right past any of those manifests and keep pressuring the life total of Sebastian. The weakness of Mastery of the Unseen is how slow it is. It costs 4 mana to make a 2/2. You know, we're talking about standard here. That is not super impressive. In order for it to really get its strength going, it has to happen over the long term. And Sebastian is going to need to find a way to maneuver this board state so that the long term happens. On the other side of the table, William Pizzi and company right now are formulating a plan to say, how can we shut the door on this game as quickly as possible and mitigate the mastery? All right, so what he's done is activate a Lumbering Falls here, Ian.
Yeah, this is a really interesting play. Saving the Den Protector for a little bit later, maybe getting some more information about what they can bring back from the graveyard. And as you pointed out, Marshall, Den Protector, a creature that can even get through any number of Master the Unseen manifests because of its ability to be not blocked by creatures with power less than it. If it does get played face down, then turn face up, it'll have 3 power and can get by any number of 2 or 1 power blockers.
I like that play by Pizzi a lot. That was 8 damage. Sebastian falls from 16 to 8 in that one swing. His follow-up is normally a really nice stabilizer here with P and Kieran Nalaar, but William Pizzi's 2 creatures are just huge. Well, I should say his creature land and his creature.
Looks like Surak Dragonclaw, the pickup here for William Pizzi. That's going to be very, very relevant here. It does give other creatures you control trample. So a couple turns down the line here, that might be a surprise 2, 3, 4 damage coming through past some blockers. But it looks like for now, William Pizzi coming in with Bounding Crassus after playing a face-down Den Protector. Now, because he has the Rattleclaw Mystic up in addition to the 2 lands, he can turn that Den Protector face up, get back Fiery Impulse, and kill a blocker, which means if Sebastian were to triple block with Pia and Kieran Nalaar and the 2 Thopters, Fiery Impulse could come back and take out the Pia and Kieran Nalaar, and then the Bounding Crassus would finish off the Thopters. So, really interesting decision here for Fiala Ibitz. He also doesn't want to take that, that 3 damage.
Not at all.
So we'll see what happened. I assume there was some sort of block here, given that Pizzi is turning face up. He does get back Fiery Impulse, takes out the Pia and Kieran Nalaar. And no, it looked like Sebastian just let that Bounding Crassus through.
He did indeed.
So Pizzi's play there was actually to prevent Fiala Ibitz from untapping with Pia and Kieran Nalaar and being able to use that activated ability, sacrificing an artifact to deal 2 damage.
To the Den Protector.
To the Den Protector,
yeah.
right. That's the key thing that Pizzi is protecting here. So this is a really intense game here, Marshall.
Yeah, we are super down the stretch here in Game 3 of Match 3 to decide which one of these 2 teams is going to take that seat in the finals against Thailand and which one is going to have to end their run in the semis. Right now, Sebastian Fiala Ibitz out of Austria is behind and significantly here. The tempo plays and the card advantage from William Pizzi's Teamer Megamorph deck have been just enough to keep Fiala Ibitz on his back heels through the duration of the game so far. But Williams just about out of gas here.
A key flip here.
Ooh.
Habit of Carol Keep reveals Crackling Doom.
And he's going to cast it. I'm assuming that the Bounding Crassus is what ends up dying here.
Yeah, the Den Protector much, much more valuable here with its evasive ability to not be blocked by creatures with power less than its own, which is 3 right now.
And Sebastian plays a land and passes the turn back. This is huge draw steps. Teamer Charm would do it. William Pizzi's whittled him down to 5 life. He knows he can get him to 2 this turn.
Yeah, even to 1 actually with Surak, or potentially, depending on how Sebastian Fiala Ibitz blocks. Surak Dragonclaw can flash in and give creatures trample.
So you're saying if the Rattleclaw Mystic attacked and was blocked with just a Thopter or just a Abbot?
Precisely. But I don't think there's a lot of value to putting your opponent to 1 rather than 2 here.
No.
And keeping that Surak secret is probably more important.
Now all of a sudden we're in a scenario where Sebastian, I think, is going to have to fire up Shambling Vent just to not die.
Yeah, it looks like Sebastian's hand here is just 3 lands, Mountain Plains and Evolving Wild.
I thought I saw Transgress the Mind, but in any case, that's still not something that's going to matter at this juncture. So, yeah. So if Sebastian attacks, he can get himself up to 4 life here and maybe gain 1 draw step.
Yeah, the only other option besides attacking with the Shambling Vent would be manifesting again, but the manifest would still only be a 2/2. It can't block the Den Protector, and that would leave only 3 total mana for Sebastian with which to turn up the manifest and gain some life from Master the Unseen. That's the only other line I can see, and I don't see any creatures that cost 3 or less mana that can block the Den Protector. So it would basically be
And
like...
by the way, Surrak Dragonclaw on end step, and let's not forget Lumbering Falls looming down there
This
as
isn't
well.
end step yet, actually, Marshall. This is in response to Transgress the Mind. So you were
Sure.
right. He did pick up a Transgress the Mind here.
Sure.
So there is still the option for Fiale Bits to attack with the Shambling Vent and gain some life.
Yeah, I don't know if that gets him out of it at this point, though. So Surrak gets chumped. That part's easy.
Yeah.
And then Den Protector gets in for 3 to drop him to 1. So any 1 point of trample damage from either the 2/1 or the 3/3 Lumbering Falls is lethal.
That's a great point, Marshall.
Surrak Dragonclaw, is that what's going to put Italy into the finals?
I think so. I believe this is a hard lock on the game. I don't think there are any options here for Sebastian.
The only other choice being to pass the turn and hope that William decides to attack with more. That doesn't work either. Yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's just going to ship the turn back, and now all William has to do is attack with Den Protector, and he's going to put Italy into the finals.
Well, there is one possibility, Marshall, which would be manifesting and hitting Hangerback Walker, which can be turned up for 0 to gain 3 life. So,
you're right.
However, if Pizzi also attacks with the Lumbering Falls and Surrak and if he just attacks with everything, I think that is a guaranteed victory.
So that would be Shambling Vent getting active to block the 2/1. That would put Sebastian up to 4. He would go down to 3 either way, thanks to the Den Protector. He has to chump block the Surrak, which is easy. And yeah, then he takes 2 more. William Pizzi has this. What if the Shambling Vent blocks the Lumbering Falls, Ian? That soaks up all of that damage and puts him up to 4. Chump block, double block, take 3, go to 1.
Yeah, that is
he
a
actually
possibility
does
too.
have the option here to live for 1 more turn.
Yeah, so maybe it's safe. Maybe it is safest only to attack with the Den Protector.
Oh, but he drew
Fiery
Fiery Impulse for his draw step to take another blocker out of the way.
So I think this does it. So what's the best case scenario? Okay, so if he activates Shambling Vent and blocks...
They must not have Spell Mastery, huh? Otherwise, you just take out the Vent.
Yes.
Post blocks too, and after your creature has trample, that would do it. But either way you suss this out, it's looking like William Pizzi and the Italian team are going to find themselves in the finals here. They're going to have to make sure that they don't misstep down the stretch.
Yeah, I think this is a complete lock here. So if Sebastian were to activate Shambling Vent and block the Lumbering Falls, he'll gain 2 life from that and absorb the 3 trample damage. 1 Thopter blocks Surrak. 1 Thopter can block Rattleclaw Mystic, so there'll be 1 trample damage coming over plus the Den Protector.
And that's 4.
That's 4 damage, and he's only gaining 2, so he's dead.
Yes.
The other possibility is manifest and hit, I guess, Hangerback Walker, which can turn up for 0 and gain 2 life after blocking, I don't know, the Surrak. I don't think that does it either. So I think
and the
this is
Hangerback
completely
dies
it.
immediately, so this should be it. This should be Italy making it into the finals here. Every opportunity thoroughly discussed among the teammates here, and it's attack with everything in the end. Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz having one last conversation with his Austrian teammates to make sure that there's nothing he can do here.
The Austrian team perhaps going through the same kind of analysis we were going through just a moment ago, Marshall.
Yeah, this is a complex board state, and you certainly don't want to give up until you know for sure that you're out. And here it is. They're going to activate it, and it's not good enough. Italy is through to the final. Congratulations, Team Italy. You are going to play against Thailand to see who is our World Magic Cup champions. Huge celebrations down in the feature match area. As much relief as joy. That was an intense matchup between these. Again, all 3 matches went to game 3 here, with Italy pulling it out in the end over Austria. Whew, crazy stuff. This is stressful, right? Like, it's so fun to watch these super tight matches as they come down to 1 point of damage in the end to see who's going to make it through to the final and who's going to have to settle for that semifinal slot.
Yeah, truly amazing. Awesome seeing that Teamer deck in action. It's a deck that's had a little bit of a rocky road here this weekend. But yeah, it definitely sealed the clinching victory there. And wow, we have Thailand and Italy in the finals. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait, Marshall.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic finals. We're really glad that you've been able to join us for the duration of the day here as we work our way towards a World Magic Cup champion. A trophy will be handed out after the next round of action. And let's send it over to the news desk for all the reactions from Rich and the guys.
Which spell?
Dispel.
That's what did it in the end. Nikki Eigner forced that last game to get us into that incredible match with Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz and William Pizzi.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, right? We had, Mackl, we had Eigner, we had Mengucci, we had Camiluzzi, tons of Pro Tour experience, but in the end, it was the 2 youngest players, really the 3 youngest players, if you count the 2-headed giant of Pizzi and Bafero,
right?
With all of 1 Pro Tour between them. That was the deciding game of the deciding match here in the semifinals between Italy and Austria.
Now, you've got to say, the Italians, they just love that Teamer deck.
Well, they're feeling a lot better about it right now than they were coming into the semifinals. They really don't like the deck very much. They don't think it is as good as maybe they felt it would be, expecting certain...
I was going to say, is this about the inherent power of the deck, or do they feel it turns out to have been not in a great position?
I think they expected that deck was going to face off against a lot of red decks in the seat that they had it in.
Okay.
And it didn't work out that way for them.
It did not, but it certainly worked out for them overall. Italy through to the final. If you haven't been here all day, or in your case, maybe it's all night, maybe you're already into Monday morning. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're going to be just about into Monday morning in Thailand. I'm going to guess you're still up and waiting for the final. It's coming around about 10 minutes from now.
There are going to be a lot of bleary gamers going into the office on Monday morning in Thailand.
What happened to you? The World Magic Cup happened to me. All right, why don't we take a look at our bracket and we'll walk you through everything that's happened so far today. It's been a day of shocks, magnificent magic, top decks, last turns. It's just been great. And it began, seems a long time ago now, with Denmark taking on Thailand. Denmark were the reigning World Magic Cup captains. They had found their way into the top 8 once again. And if not red hot, they were the yellow hot favorites.
Well, you know what? I mean,
against Thailand.
Like you said, they won the World Magic Cup last year. Their captain from last year, Martin Mueller, returned as a WMCQ winner to join Martin Dang, who'd won a Pro Tour and a Grand Prix and a Mox earlier this year. So this was a team that was, it's just been winning everything they played in. They're part of Team Eureka, the team of the year. And, a team that seemingly won everything. And really, it seemed like Denmark had a clear path through into the semifinals certainly based on experience.
But what it came down to was Martin Dang with a Taka Red and he was up against Chom Pasibachaya, who was playing Abzan Agro. And one of the great Magic lessons got shown on camera.
Sure. Sometimes don't do anything is the right play. It was Anafenza the foremost in play. Soren Solemn Visitor had been played the turn after. He ticked it up to give his creatures lifelink.
And he was already at 19 life at this point.
And chose not to attack.
So why wouldn't you go up to 24? And the answer is...
Yeah, his opponent had untapped mana, was holding a fistful of cards, one of which was a Tarkus command. It was going to end up foiling the lifelink from the creature. He was going to be able to crack back with the creature, quite possibly with a lethal crackback.
Yep, it was the actual, I am refusing the opportunity to go from 19 to 24 against a deck that wants to deal me damage. And that's what actually put Thailand through.
And he put the onus upon Martin to kill Anafenza, the foremost, third most, second most, all the way down the line. He kept playing creatures and forcing Martin to deal with them instead of maybe throwing that damage at him. It was incredibly well played by Chom.
Yeah, it was a wonderful match and a great way to start the day. It meant that we only had one possible repeat winner left in the competition. Chinese Taipei were out in pool play yesterday, so we knew they couldn't win, of course. Then we had Denmark out. So then our attention turned to our second, and what a great clash this looked like on paper. This was Pierre Dageon leading Team France, Arnold Sume, the sort of lead lieutenant on that team, and then Japan. What an amazing team they put together this year.
Yeah, absolutely. The team is headlined by Yuya Watanabe, or is it headlined by Kenji Samura, or is it headlined by the Pro Tour finalist Ryuichi Tamada, who defeated John Finkel. It's however way you wanted to slice that team, the players we were going to see, it was just phenomenal. And by the way, Japan is a team that has won in World Team Competition as recently as 2011 at the last old-fashioned.
San Francisco.
Yeah, they were the last of the old World Team Worlds winners.
Yeah, with Hall of Famer Makeda Mahara amongst that team. But in the end, it was France, the #1 seed, who emerged, and they did the double over Japan. They did exactly what they did to Japan late last night in the final round. They were both at 2-0. They knew they would both be in the top 8. France said, we want #1 seed. We want to play first. And just apart from anything else, we want to beat you and make it clear to you that you're beatable.
Sure.
And they put down a marker last night. They came in. They did it all over again. That meant we would have a France against Thailand semi-final.
I believe the official term for what France did to Japan there in the quarterfinals was a thumping.
A thumping?
I believe it was a proper thumping.
Fair enough. Well, we went into the bottom half of our bracket, and that meant Austria against Guatemala. Now, the Austrians, a terrific team led by Valentin Mackl. You had a very sort of... not ringer precisely, because Sebastian Fiala-Ibitz doesn't have the sort of resume that people are unaware of.
Doesn't have a Pro Tour appearance.
Right, but the reputation within the team, if you talk to Valentin Mackl in advance, he was saying, hey, listen, it looks like we're a 3+1. We're not at all. Sebastian's, and is witnessed by the fact that here he is playing in the top 8, when you would expect that he would get, great job, you've done your 6-7 rounds, let's put you in the coaching chair. Nope, he was holding the cards at the end.
Mackl thought he was one of the best young players he'd seen this year.
But in their way was one of the great stories of not just today, but of the whole weekend. Fabulous stuff. Team Guatemala.
Yeah, led by Christopher Ferrula of Guatemala. This is a team that's been up and coming each year at the World Magic Cup. They always come with tremendous spirit. They have those brilliant coats and hats with Team Guatemala on the back, Capitan on the back for the national champion, and and it's great. They're excited to be here, but that's not enough for them. And they've steadily marched their way up throughout the 3 years of this tournament preceding this, and this year they finally, made their way into the top 8.
Yeah, brilliant job by them, but the Austrians stuck to their guns and got the job done. Austria advanced into the semi-finals, and that left the all-European clash between Italy and Scotland, who'd already had plenty of time to get to know each other. They'd played in pool play. Italy had won. Scotland were in the middle of an incredible matchup against Greece, and it's worth remembering that they were only a whisker away from back-to-back top 8. So a good weekend for Greece, despite that heartbreak.
They finished in 9th, actually.
There we go.
They actually finished in 9th. And Scotland Scotland, came into that last round of pool play on day 2 in pretty good shape, but lost to Italy, lost their second round, and were 0-2. And really, Italy played in their last round to go 3-0 to essentially help Scotland get into the top 8. Made that incredible match versus Greece relevant.
One of the great Magic moments. Scotland made it into day 3, but Italy advanced to the semi-finals. Now we've seen the semi-finals, France against Thailand, and as we've seen, once again, it was Thailand who advanced. Thailand got into the final. France just couldn't get the job done. We saw Esper Dragons Verano Sume win, but then Chompasa Bachaya and Virapat Sirilat-Vorakul claim the match for Thailand. And then you've just seen in extraordinary fashion Austria against Italy. That is done. And the Italians, well, we talk about the dress rehearsal for the live performance. They reacted at the end of the semi like they had won every World Magic Cup ever. They've got a lot of heart rates to calm down.
When we talked before the semifinals, the Italian team said that the match was going to come down to Mengucci's matchup because they believed Camerluzzi would win, and they believed that Pizzi would lose based on deck matchup, and that the closest matchup was Mengucci's, and it was going to come down to that. But that's not how it played out at all.
No.
Mengucci won, Camerluzzi lost, and it came down to Pizzi with the teamer Megamorph deck that they've been, felt has not lived up to their expectations when they chose that deck for this tournament. Suddenly pulling out the win on the back of Sir Dragon Claw.
Extraordinary stuff. So let's set up the World Magic Cup final for you. It is going to be Thailand and it is going to be Italy. Let's take a look at the two teams for you. We begin with the number 5 seed. It is Thailand. And there you see them. Surepong Pobitagul. No Pro Tours, but 10 Grand Prix, plenty of experience there. The captain, Virapat Sirilat-Vorakul, smiling away there with his 15 Grand Prix starts and double figures in Pro Tours spread across many years. Great to see him. Here, Chompasa Bachaya, Abzan Agro, and the coach, let's not leave them out, Akarash Sorokap, because he's played his share to get them to this point. And every decision at this point is a team decision. You're always there with who we end up with. So that's Thailand. Let's take a look at the 3 decks they're bringing to battle. Now, 2 of these pretty much expected BDM. Esper Dragons first up.
Yeah, Esper Dragons, we've talked about it a lot. 4-2-4, 4 Dragonlord Urjitai, 2 Dragonlord Silumgar, 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Obviously, the Dig Through Times is your favorite magic pun.
Which spell? Yep, absolutely.
Foul Tongue Invocation, a card which has just been performing tremendously in a field where everyone knew there was going to be an Atarka red deck on the other team somewhere. Foul Tongue Invocation has just been a tremendous card. A couple of really interesting cards in this deck that maybe we don't see in all the lists. The Ruinous Path and the Scouter to the Winds, acting almost as a Stalking Stones.
Right.
If you want to go back to the old school control decks, you get to go late in the game, I counter your spell, Scatter the Winds, make a land or creature, and I can attack with that.
So that's Esper Dragons, and we've seen a ton of that. That was very much a key to the constructed format unified standard. Seat B for Thailand, here's Virapat Sirilat-Vorakul, again, Atarka red, just what we're expecting. And then seat C, well, this was for Abzan mid-range, slightly different. Some cards that we haven't seen a huge amount of here. Actually not seen a ton of Siege Rhino this weekend, but Anafenza the foremost, doing great work, Den Protector and Hangerback Walkers.
Anafenza, the MVP for Chom in this deck.
For sure. Let's go across to the Italians then, show you their team. We begin with Andrea Mengucci, Esper Dragons. William Pizzi played in 1 Pro Tour. He'll be playing another soon, joining us in Atlanta in February. Marco Camerluzzi with Atarka red, 18 Pro Tours. Vast experience. Look at that, 66 Grand Prix. That's basically everything in Europe for the last 5-6 years. So, there's a lot of experience there. And Francesco Bifera won't be holding the cards, but he'll certainly be trying to make sure they're played in the right order.
He'll be sitting right next to William Pizzi. They've been the 2-headed giant throughout this tournament.
Okay, so let's take a look at their 3 decks then. Seat A, it's Esper Dragons. So that's what we're looking at their Dragon Lord Ojutai, Dragon Lord Silumgar, Jace Friend's Prodigy, all the usual stuff. Worth keeping an eye on the Foul Tongue invocations, just how often, because sometimes those dragons die or aren't around, and a lot of those matches come down to how much of Foul Tongue invocation is real, if you like, at any given point. Seat B, we have then William Pitsy with the Teamer Megamorph deck. We'll see whether that's the key to the final. And then Seat C, Marco Camilluzzi with Ataka Red. So here's the matchup. Let's look at them all together. It's going to be Italy against Thailand, and let's get a sense of what we're looking at. So, well, first things first, BDM, on the left there, Esper Dragons, Suripong Popitagul against Andrea Mengucci. Esper Dragons. If this final goes along, those two guys have to sit down against each other now and know it's probably on them in a game 3.
I feel like it is going to come down to them, and I wonder if it's going to come down to those scattered to the winds. More counter spells in the Thai Esper Dragons deck, and those counter spells actually serve as additional win conditions in the long game.
Well, we may find out. Maybe they become unessential because, of course, it's best 2 out of 3, best 2 out of 3. So if either can match up without relying on the Dragon's Mirror, we'll have a champion before that. In the middle seat, it's Captain Virapat Cyrilet Voracle with Ataka Red.
And a huge hallelujah from the Italian team as they get to put their Teamer Megamorph deck against an actual real live Ataka Red deck.
Right, which is exactly what it was for. So presumably, at that point, Paolo Vita Dama de Rosa, who was instrumental in this, says,
I told you.
Guys, I knew you wouldn't need it till the final. That's when it really matters. So Teamer Megamorph up against Ataka Red. So that does favour the Italians.
I mean, that's the reason they're playing the deck.
And then seat 3, Chom Hasid Pachaya with Abzan Aggro against the Italian Ataka Red deck. So again, I guess the interesting thing is here, as we've watched the Ataka Red decks play out, as Ian Duke said, sitting beside us here multiple times today, they don't have a lot of a plan B.
No.
But the Abzan Aggro deck has quite a lot of plan B. It has quite a lot of, well, actually, I'll just be a teeny bit slower and be a bit mid-rangey and a bit grindy and a little bit comebacky and actually...
And a lot of the best sideboard cards against the Ataka Red deck are in white. You know, we've seen the Foul Tongue Invocations in black that are great, but, you know, the Arishan Clerics, the Surge of Righteousnesses, all that kind of stuff is in the Abzan colors.
Well, 73 nations wore their hearts on their sleeves coming into this. 71 are now watching in the wings as Thailand and Italy do battle to determine the outcome of the World Magic Cup 2015. Good luck to both of them. Enjoy. Let's take you to the final of the WMC for 2015.